Professor Palace here with the weekly wrap-up for NTD420 for spring semester 2020, week 7 and week 8. I just want to take a moment to point out that this class is an online class, and we will continue to follow the online class format following the original schedule and the original syllabus. I do realize that you have other classes right now that are transitioning to an online status related to the COVID-19, but we will continue following our original format. So let's take a look at our due dates. This week we have quiz number 2. That is to be completed by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, March 22nd. I would strongly encourage you to complete the preparation worksheet prior to taking the quiz. That worksheet is not graded, but it is a strong tool that will help you prepare for the quiz. There's also a preparation video that you can watch to help prepare for the quiz. The other due date that we have coming up at the end of the semester is your group project. Before you left for spring break, everyone did submit what their target audience is for their group project. I have posted some videos that will help you prepare your group project. There's a video that discusses the use of Novio. There's a video that discusses the use of Google Slides. And there's a video that discusses how to format an APA running head in your written paper, because I've recognized that some people are struggling with that, so I wanted to help you out. Another thing to remember, if you selected a target audience where people are under the age of 20, you will not be using body mass index to diagnose obesity. You will be using the percentiles chart. Please see the announcement that I posted related to this. Lastly, for your group project, I strongly encourage you to give your project a name. It's a lot easier to develop your interventions and to give your presentation when the project itself has a name. Let's take a few minutes and review the results of the eating observation assignment that you completed as a class prior to leaving for spring break. So when we complete an observation like this, it's an excellent tool to evaluate yourself, but it's also something that you might find helpful when you're working with clients in the future. A tool like this will help you identify trends and patterns, and then you can identify potential outliers. Then, if change is appropriate and warranted, those patterns that you identify or those outliers could indicate areas where you could create a custom targeted intervention for that particular client. It really personalizes the approach, and it can improve and increase your level of success with the client, helping them learn to stabilize their weight or better manage their weight. So let's take a look at consumption time. For this particular class in spring 2020, the students, you found that 37.5% of you consume your meal in 10 minutes or less. 45.8% of you consume your meal in 11 to 15 minutes. And 16.7% of you consume your meal in 16 minutes or greater. So take a look at that and think about that. Many of you are eating your meals rather quickly, and a lot of times we don't have the luxury of time to sit down and really relax over a meal, but that might be something that draws your attention, and it's definitely something that you want to evaluate with clients. Let's take a look at the percent of food that you consume when you have a meal or a snack. For this class, 75% of you consume 100% of your meal or snack. And this is really positive. A lot of you took the time to note out in your eating observation that you do prepare your own foods, or that you're specific in the portion sizes that you select for yourself so that you can and do eat everything that you serve yourself. You're not wasteful at all. So I don't perceive that to be negative. It actually was very reflective of a good, strong relationship and a responsible relationship with food, is the way I saw that for this particular class based on what you wrote. 16% of you eat 80% of the meal. 7% of you eat 60%, and 2% of you eat 40%. There was no one that was eating less than 40% of the meal or snack. The level of satiety after a meal. This is something that's important to get in touch with for yourself, and also when you're counseling clients. It's helpful for people to learn to start to recognize when they're full so that they can stop eating. And that might be before they've finished the portion, depending on the portion size. So for this particular assignment, for this class, 8.7% of you found that you were still hungry after a meal. And some of you did indicate that that particular state of hunger happened after a meal that you consumed after a very stressful or demanding physical activity or exercise. So we have a very physically active class, and it was interesting that you had the insight to note that you were still hungry. But it was a small percentage of you, 8.7%. 73.9% of the class said that they were sated after a meal. And 17.4% of you noted that there were times where you were able to identify, I felt over full or stuffed after consuming the meal. Something that you might connect there is that people are feeling over full and they are consuming the entire portion. So that might be an opportunity when you see that happening to take a step back and look at the size of the portion to determine if it was too large. Dining companionship, 6.4% of you dine alone, 30% of you dine with people and or pets, and 63.6% of you dine with what I would consider the virtual companion or online. And that means that you were on Facebook, on social media, talking with someone on a FaceTime call or Skyping, watching a movie, watching TV, doing homework online. You were doing something that might possibly distract you from your enjoyment of the meal or from your ability to recognize that you feel satisfied and or full and you should stop eating. So it's interesting to see that large percentage of you using a virtual dining companion. This is also reflective of where we live in society today. So I think mindful eating is something that's going to have to happen in a way that can accommodate virtual companionship. What's next? Stay up to date with the weekly readings and the videos. Complete the weekly survey or poll. Make sure that you're watching all of the videos and the lectures. There's a lot of important information out there, especially when we have a quiz. Start to work on your group project. I would encourage you to watch those videos, particularly the ones on Novio, on Google Slides, and on creating that running head properly in APA format. You don't have to use Novio or Google Slides. You could use different programs for your group project, but I do want to give you some direction. So we're off. We're on to week 9, and this week we learn about energy metabolism and the role it plays in weight status. Thank you so much for your time.